With me is Rob Weldon from the music industry and an author of a new series. Actually, it's been around for a while that we'll get to. But first, let's talk about your amazing history in radio and music, starting off with your radio career that began back in the, early 90s?
Yeah, 92. I started as an intern at a radio station. It was a top 40 station. And 2 years into it, it flipped. We were talking about Rick Gillette earlier. He was
In
our
Detroit.
programming director. Oh, yeah, he's awesome. I love that guy. I still do after all these years, especially. Um,
WHYT.
yeah, 96.3 jams.
Mhm.
And, I wasn't super top 40 myself. I mean, I get it, like, whatever. But we flipped alternative. So I started, dealing with specialty shows and talking to record reps more often. And after about a year of that, I'm still 22 and I'm leaving college and I get offered a job at I.R.S. Records. So I moved out to LA. And of course, everybody knew I.R.S. Records,
The
REM.
legendary I.R.S.
Yeah.
records,
The
started
cr-
by Miles Copeland,
Miles
brother of
Copeland.
Stuart Copeland of the Police.
I'm not even sure Miles even ever really knew my name. He always called me the
Really?
vampire. Yeah, because the nail polish and I never turned the lights on in my office. So when it got dark, 4:30 in the afternoon in December, I would light a candle. And so he would always just call me the vampire. Hey, vampire, how's your week going? So I'm still not even sure that he even knew my name, but I love that guy,
So
right?
that was like 1995, and
That
that
was
was
95. Yeah.
who were some of the bands on I.R.S.? I know REM had been on
We
there, but they moved to Warner.
Yeah, we still had Squeeze and the Buzzcocks, but they were a shell of what they had been in the past. We still had Dada, as you know, we had them play your festival.
Yeah, Quad
We
in
were
Sacramento.
That's right. We are trying to break Gren and the Daisies, and that didn't really happen. And I was only there for about a year when the label was folded into Capitol, which again happens when bigger labels have smaller labels on their roster. I went to Revolution for a little while. That was actually Giant Records for the time. For about 2 years, it was Missy Worth's label, and she renamed it Revolution. So that's when I
Mhm.
was there. And then it reverted back to Giant, and they signed Disturbed, and
Okay.
whatever. So, really, in the record industry, I feel like I made my mark at Roadrunner. I was at Roadrunner for almost 10 years, and um, a lot of rock and metal and whatnot. But at
Starting with
first,
Nickelback, right?
way before that, when I started there, the big bands were Typo Negative and Sepultura. We were just breaking Cold Chamber. Then we broke Fear Factory, then Slipknot, then Nickelback, and then call we can argue about what the definition of breaking, but then Theory of a
Real
Dead
quickly
Man.
about
Then
Slipknot. Slipknot
yeah,
played in Ozfest in '99, and that was a big launching for their
yeah.
career, right?
That the record came out in June of that year, exactly.
And so tell us the story real quickly about Slipknot, how they did it, sold so many records without really having hit singles. I mean, they kind of had rock hits, but not
I'm
on the
telling
level of
you that it just, in my opinion, they went viral before viral. Do you know what I mean? Like, this was before social media, but it just when I say it hit, it was like they would play the side stage, and the band before them would have 3 or 4 thousand people at the stage of Ozfest, and they'd come on and it would be 7 or 8 thousand people.
while you were Roadrunner, describe your job because you worked radio promotion, right? But
Right.
yeah, did Slipknot, was there a lot of resistance to Slipknot even though they sold a
Oh,
lot of records?
a ton. Like, it was, people didn't want stuff that heavy on the radio. It was too crazy. I mean,
But
the only station in the country that were playing them in regular rotation was KKDM in Des Moines. Obviously, they're from Des
my
Moines,
mom's hometown.
but KUPD
I don't
98.
think she would have liked Slipknot.
No, I doubt it.
She
But
liked
98,
Frank Sinatra though.
nice. 98 Rock in Phoenix, KUPD, they were tight enough with their local promoters that when Ozfest came to town, they were able to make that U Fest. So Slipknot was on their birthday festival, which was actually Ozfest.
Hmm.
So they wanted to promote the show, and they're like, "Hey, what can we play off the record?" And I'm like, "Wait and Bleed." I mean, that's the closest thing. That's what
Like a
Des
ballad
Moines,
almost.
for them, and they were playing it off the album.
Yeah.
And as you know, by the time we worked it as a single, we had softened it a bit. We'd cut out some of the screaming and made a radio edit out of it. But
Mm,
they played it full on, like from that, and the sales exploded. I mean,
okay.
it's one of those things. I mean, like orders of magnitude. It was ridiculous, and we really, really knew we had a hit here because 10 or 12 spins a week was like it was crazy how many records that was selling. So we absolutely did have to work that as a single at that point.
But how
You
much
know,
of their success has been due to just having a crazy live act with
well
wearing masks?
that's what got it started. But I'm telling you, when people played it on the radio, people weren't hearing stuff like this before on the radio, so that it just added zero to the end of everything. You know, if you were going to sell, 250,000 records, now you're going to sell 2.5 million records. It was one of those kind of things. But they were going to have a career no matter what. Even without radio, they were going to be successful.
That's what it seems like. Yeah. Now jumping to
Yeah.
Nickelback, they were very successful. They actually sold the most of any rock band, right, of the past few decades.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. It's something like 50 million records at this
That
point.
is crazy.
And rock bands aren't selling that kind of music anymore.
Right.
I mean, even they're
But
not
were
like
they
they're
the
done
band
now.
who killed rock and roll? Because a lot of people ended up joking about them in the I Hate Nickelback
Oh
campaign
yeah,
and all
oh
that
yeah.
garbage. I actually think they were a very good sounding band, but their sound seemed to get duplicated a lot on radio. Plus, they got overplayed a lot.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think that caused a lot of people to have a backlash on Nickelback.
Absolutely. It is what it is. But the thing is, my favorite memory of Chad Kroeger is that their first tour in the US was opening for Creed. And of course that's fitting, that makes sense. But so this would have been 2000, and they were playing in Reno, just a sideshow. K dot Rock 1045 was Pure Rock 1045 was playing them, and they had a bad review in the Reno Gazette. And I was on the bus. Well, it wasn't even a bus, it was a freaking RV. And I see Chad reading it, and hey man, I'm sorry. Like our publicist, they can get the reviews. We don't write them for them. They have their own. And he's like, it's fine, Rob. He folds it. He goes, critics are never gonna like us ever. We just want to get played on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started asking me questions about call out research, like how long are those hooks?
So Chad knew about the radio.
100%. He asked us those questions. How long are those hooks? And he goes, well, wait a minute, but the spins went up here. You said they're going down. I go, yeah, well, we changed the hook of Leader of Men from the chorus to the intro. And at that point, it started getting good research again. People were sick of the hook. They weren't sick of the song.
Right.
And he goes, oh, so I should have hooks there and there. And I'm not taking any credit for what he did, because I guarantee he asked every one of us reps that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but he wanted to know about call it research, which no other band had asked me before
right.
or since. Like they didn't care.
Only radio industry people talk about that, huh?
That's right. So because even listeners don't know it exists.
Right.
So and all of a sudden the first song is Never Made It as a Wise Man. It started cold again and had 5 different hooks. So every time it started burning out at radio, we'd ask the radio station to switch the hook. They were just burned out on the hook, that particular hook. They weren't burned out on the song. And then that ended up
popped up.
So at that time, How You Remind Me ended up setting the record for most airplay ever.
Yeah.
All formats combined in 1 week. And then the next week they broke that record.
Right.
And then later on, Linkin Park in the end broke that record, and it just kept moving because everybody started doing that same trick.
Okay.
But I want to say that it was because of Nickelback that actually was a thing, and that's why they're so hated, because they were so overplayed, But that's what he wanted. Like he never ever, he was like, dude, critics are never gonna like us, man. It's okay.
Got what he wanted, lots of airplay.
And yeah, and I'm sure his bank account is happy.
Now let's move on to your story of how you went from the music industry to becoming an author.
Yeah, it's funny. I had originally gone to college for a scholarship for writing, but that led to my internship at a radio station. So I'd always written on like airplanes and in hotels and sometimes even just backstage during sound check. I got an hour to kill. I may as well, write in my notebook. But nothing was really getting done. Um, After Roadrunner, I managed the Stone Foxes for 5 years. And then when I backed up, I'm like, you know what? I have a lot to say right now, and it's not about the music industry. So I just started collating all my notes, and it just turned into this thing. And it's called the Omnis series. And I've already published 5 books. And the sixth one, I'm working on revisions right now. So yeah, it's just fun. But it's I call it horror comedy.
Okay.
It is horror comedy. I call it magical noir. It doesn't exist. I
So
googled it. So
it's you're self-published, right?
at this time, yes,
And that means you can write whatever you want, right?
whatever the hell I
There's,
want.
there's
That's right.
nobody editing you or telling you you can
Well,
or can't do this.
the difference is I hire an editor and I have a proofreader and I have an artist that makes the covers. I still have a team, but I'm in control of that team. And I
Yeah.
throw lodges, which are like live shows, but I have other people speak. I read from the books, and they feel more like concerts. I'm selling T-shirts there and coffee mugs and things like that.
So in a way, it's like Slipknot because it's bigger than the music, right?
Yeah,
It's a
not as much
package.
yelling. Not as much yelling. But it's funny.
So let's go over your books real quickly here.
Yeah,
Consumia's Spiritual Emporium. That's the first of 5 that are out so far, right?
correct. Yes, and that is actually like the geographical center of this universe. And then the Omnist is an app, which is like the spiritual center of the universe. Think like a dating site where the more questions you answer, the better they are at matching you. But in this case, they're matching you with gods to worship, with prayers to recite, with merch to buy at the Emporium, um, omniscience to see speak. And an omniscient might encourage you to worship the god of sleep or the goddess of FOMO or whatever. It's supposed to be ridiculous, but the
Is
Omnis
it a
app is
satire on AI in any way?
book 6 is,
Okay.
but that's not out yet.
Okay, because AI is the
Uh,
trend right now. I just wondered if
Correct.
like
It
tapping
does.
into it.
Well, we've always had algorithms, but it's meant to be more magical. The app knows more about you than it should. Like
Okay.
it's giving you advice throughout the day about what's actually happening to you.
So number 2 is mostly human, mostly cat.
Yeah, have so by the way, all of these books have different main characters, different POVs, so I can sort of triangulate a truth a little bit better. Um, if you've ever I dated a cat woman once, like she had literally 11 cats at the time. And I made a joke about, you know what, I bet you these are all your ex-boyfriends, because one of them had like everybody's got like a Mr. Whiskers kind of cat or whatever, but one of them had like a normal name, like Steve or something. And I'm like, you know what? I bet you these are exes. Well, here I am many, many years later writing a book about that. What if a woman really was a witch and she changed her exes into cats because she had a fear of separation but still wanted to control their lives?
Okay, the Omnist and the Cosmic Egg.
Okay, so there's a condition called Cotard's delusion where you literally think you're dead. You may not eat for days because dead people don't eat, or you might walk into traffic because they just drive through you. So it can be a very dangerous condition to have. And then an accident happens, and now he spends the rest of the book trying to convince people he's still alive. I just think that's funny.
Okay, fourth book is The Patina of Dorothy Grant.
If you're familiar with The Picture of Dorian Gray, and that's a 19-year-old dandy in the Victorian era who has a painting that takes on all his sins and ages and gets ugly and whatnot. Uh, I just modernized it. So now it's an 18-year-old female with social media that ages and takes on all her sins and gets ugly. So I think that would drive an influencer crazy. So it's just fun. Remember, this is all horror comedy. Like
Right,
it's
right.
all satire, but it's not slapstick.
Okay,
It's dark humor.
right. And it's unique in a certain way because no one else has done this kind of series before, right?
In my opinion, I mean, people, I haven't read everything out there, but in my opinion, this is what I want to read, and I'm not finding it anywhere, so I'm doing it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
book number 5, Wide-Eyed Wyatt's Liquid Map. Is
Yeah. So this guy
map
works
or
at
nap?
Nap. Yeah.
Oh,
Why that?
okay.
It's a liquid nap, meaning it's a joke because if you're really tired and you need a nap, you can have this quad shot espresso drink, and it's a liquid nap. You don't need to go to sleep. But basically, this guy works at a coffee roaster in Van Nuys, and the god of sleep wants to kill him, and he doesn't know why. And it's actually a love triangle from the god's origin story. The two mortals are reincarnations of people from back then. But what do you do when the god of sleep's trying to kill you? So got to
So
figure something out. But I think it's funny that he works at a coffee roaster too.
the Omnis series is available where? At Amazon?
Amazon, yeah, you can do that.
Okay, I'm just curious, where do you go from here? And is this working out for you as a writer?
I mean, the thing is, I used to make a lot more money, and I'm happier than I've ever been. So I feel like this is what I'm meant to do, and I feel like this is untapped. Like I could do this series forever, as long as I can keep affording to have my staff, have my team doing this. I'm going to keep doing it, and eventually, I think, and I hope, and I'm knocking on wood, uh, it's a streaming series or it's a series of movies or whatnot. I'm in the right place for that, but I can't hold my breath either. I need to just keep writing as well as I can.
So basically, you're producing a lot of content at this time, and then
Hmm.
whatever happens with all of it, that's for the future to decide.
That's right. And the events that I'm doing are getting bigger and bigger. I feel like I'm an unsigned band in Los Angeles that's getting bigger and getting more buzz. And at some point, something's going to happen.
Hmm. Well, Rob, it's been great talking with you. It's been years since we talked before, but
And
great reconnecting with you here, talking about your career and your latest creative endeavors, which I'm going to check out more. So thanks
right
for
on.
joining me, Rob.
You're awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. Great to see you.